but I don't want to keep Sweet Annie waiting. I just looked up her Twitter. I love it. It just says creator. We could call her influencer, analyst, whatever. She just talks about hockey on social media and has fun doing it. What's up, Annie?
How you doing, Rod? Long time no talk.
Hey, I think about you often. I see you often with all the stuff that you're creating there. And the reason I think about it is like the Ducks. I want to cheer for them. I really do. They can't seem to get out of their own way. What is the deal?
It's a young team, but it doesn't help that, the injury bug has just completely taken over this team. You get one guy in, another guy goes out, and it's been that way. Alex Killorn started the season on the IR with a broken finger, I believe. And then from there, Zegras, Drysdale went out early, and then you get Leo Carlsson out for a bit. Mason McTavish, your guy who we got to talk about while we're here for sure, went out for a good bit. Just off and on, it's absolutely nuts. And, for a young team, how can you expect them to build any chemistry and to kind of build off each other when everybody's going in and out? Also, Pavel Mintyukov now on, I think, 4 to 6 weeks. He was shoulder, I believe, because, Zegras was down on the ankle. He had surgery. I can't keep track of all the injuries, but it was disappointing because, they obviously had a really hot start in October and everyone's thinking, all right, now maybe the rebuild is kind of speed rocketing here. It's coming on faster than people think. And then, kind of November, December timeframe, the wheels kind of fell off the wagon there, which, is disappointing, obviously, but it's also a reminder that, hey, this team is still very young. And despite, the additions, Frank Vetrano obviously having a 20-plus goal season so far. Super exciting. But, this team, there's still a lot of meshing to do and obviously a lot of growth. And now we're getting near the trade deadline. So, of course, with the Ducks record, names are being tossed around. And, with the news last week, was that last week already? With Jamie Drysdale going off to the Flyers. Doesn't feel like a week ago, but it was. It's... While on ice play isn't that great, the Ducks are always in the news for some reason. So,
yeah, Frank the Tank, the Ducks all-star now with Getzlaf retiring. There's a lot to get to with Annie. I hope you enjoyed. Well, I know you enjoyed the hockey for breakfast on Martin Luther King Day because your Ducks won. 1 o'clock start here would have been like 10 a.m. yours there. 5-4 Ducks in overtime.
I love it.
Yeah. But I got to ask you your take on the Ducks acquiring Cutter Gauthier. Torched, lit on fire in Philadelphia, and you give up a Canadian World Junior hero and Jamie Drysdale. What's your take on that whole situation?
I think, like most of us, I was shocked. And for one, I think the most shocking thing, and you probably can agree being in the media, is that nobody knew about it. We had no sources, no inkling, no whispers that, hey, there might be a trade coming or something's going on in Philly where they got to move Gauthier. Just in 2024, that just doesn't happen. So the fact that this was kept so under wraps and I think it was the Ducks were the first team to drop the bomb that this trade. I literally had to read it twice to see that it was Jamie Drysdale because that was just, I did not expect him to be moved. And if you think about it, given the prospects and how deep the Ducks blue line prospect pool is, you have to think, they probably weren't going to be able to hang on to everybody. And that, you got to move some pieces in order to add elsewhere. But never did I think it would be Jamie Drysdale. And it's part of me, it's unfortunate because he was just impacted by injury so long that, we really didn't get to see much of him, especially, he was gone most of last year. I think he went out, I want to say late October. That was that game against Vegas. He got injured and was out for the year. So, he really didn't I don't think he got a fair chance to really develop here. So hopefully, I hope he does well in Philly. I hope they treat him well. And it sounds like Torts is very excited about him. I am stoked about Cutter Gauthier, though. I think this is such a great addition to the Ducks prospect pool. And the fact that he is going to come and sign after the Boston College season is over, which, I think they're the number 1 ranked team, if I'm not mistaken. So that season will probably go into, late March, early April timeframe with the Frozen Four. But the Ducks prospect pool really lacked a pure goal scorer. And that's what I think people were kind of hoping to get with a Connor Bedard or an Adam Fantilli in the draft. So a little shocker there with Leo Carlsson, who we're absolutely stoked with. Don't get me wrong there. But looking at the prospect pool and the forwards there, they needed a pure goal scorer, and that's what Cutter Gauthier brings. And just, the whole situation, obviously, we don't know what the reason was for the miscommunication there, so I'm not going to make any assumptions, and, I guess people already are. But, at the end of the day, it sounds like he's excited to come and be a part of the young future in Anaheim, and we're excited to have him.
You know what I enjoy the most? Your digs at Frank Saravelli, the baby-faced assassin. Because he's not a guy that I would want to... He's not a guy that I would want to get in a pissing match with, yet you're not afraid. You don't care. What's your deal with Frank Saravelli?
I mean, he doesn't know I exist. I know the Daily Face-Off does follow me on certain social platforms, so maybe he does, but I don't think he really knows that I exist for the most part. So, yeah, I have no problem taking digs at him. But it just, for me, I don't like these insiders and analysts that kind of come out and just, they want to be first for something rather than be accurate. And they care most about being, the first one to have this. And frankly, most of the stuff that he's reported about, specifically towards the Ducks, has not been accurate. Like the whole thing this past summer with, John Gibson has said that I have played my last game as an Anaheim Duck. And then John Gibson goes on another podcast, not even Frank's, and says that is not at all true. Obviously, he's frustrated with the situation in Anaheim. Obviously, he wishes things were different with the team in front of him, but he has never once said or requested a trade or anything like that. So when Frank comes out and he stirs the pot, especially lately with this Zegras trade that apparently, Zegras' name has been involved in trades. And, I understand that. That's, maybe Pat Verbeek and other GMs are putting out proposals. And I think every player, I'm sure there's tons of trades that we don't know about that have happened, that players' names have been tossed around. But of course, he reports that. And now every single hockey podcast, every single hockey media outlet is talking about Zegras trade proposals and why, he's on the chopping block. He's going to be traded at the deadline. It's just like, where did this come from? And then people come out and say, hey, that's not happening. Like, Zegras is not on the trading block. It doesn't make sense for the Ducks to move on from him right now. So, yeah, he's not my favorite analyst. I don't know him personally, obviously, so he could be a great guy, great character, but just as a hockey insider professional, he's not my favorite.
That's cool. Hey, I appreciate you explaining that. Now, you might have seen us talking about Corey Perry potentially going to the Oilers. You'd have grown up watching him with the Ducks. At this stage of his career, would you sign him for a run if you were a contending team?
1,000%. Oh my goodness. People that say they don't want Corey Perry on their playoff team are just in denial. Why? For league minimum, you got a prorated league minimum contract. You need to add something to that bottom six. A depth winger. He knows how to make plays. Incredible hockey IQ. We know he loves to get in those dirty spaces. He's not afraid to get under guys' skin. Why wouldn't you want a guy like that on your team? Those are the guys that these GMs are looking to add at the deadline. And he knows how to win in the playoffs. And everyone wants to bring up, he was in the Stanley Cup final 3 times recently and he lost all 3 times. That man has a Stanley Cup, first of all. A lot of people forget that, apparently. And secondly, he didn't lose those cups for his team. He wasn't responsible for that. So if you're any team looking to at least get a little more veteran presence, if you're up against the cap, there's so many situations where, he would just be a perfect fit. I think there's a lot of teams he would be a great fit on, Edmonton being one of them. I know there's some mutual interest with him in Toronto, which makes sense. He's from Ontario, played for the London Knights. The Rangers need some bottom 6 help. Wouldn't hate him there. I even joked about the Penguins for a bit to reunite with Jeff Carter and Sidney Crosby from that World Juniors roster back in 2005, although that would I don't think that helps the Penguins get their getting younger problem. But the man's 38 years old, but even with his short time with the Blackhawks, he was still incredibly productive. So I'm not shocked at all that there's teams rumored to be interested in him, and they absolutely should be.
Well, Annie, we've come to the end of our time. I have more, but we'll have to bring you on sooner than later to do it again. But your numbers are growing. I love that so that tells me people love what you're doing. You call out the haters, which is always fun. I can't believe you have any, but I also know when you're doing something good, you're going to have them. They unfortunately go hand in hand. That really tells me that you're doing great. So thanks for the update from the West Coast. Next time we'll talk Kings. But thanks, Annie. Where can people follow you? Let's tell them that.
Well, anytime. It's always a pleasure chatting with you, Rod. They can find me on any social platform at Sweet Annie OD, posting sports content every day. I also love rock and roll and all sorts of other stuff. So, yeah, it's always a good time.
All right, the Metallica Barbie, Sweet Annie.
You know.
Have a good one. Enjoy the hockey. Sweet, sweet Annie OD joining us.